Welcome back to Catholic Lunch Break here on AM 1430. This is the weekly program where we catch up with all things Catholic in the greater Houston area. This is Wyatt Goolsby, Executive Director of this radio station, KSHJ. If you have a love for what is good, true, and beautiful, then you might consider attending Sacred Art Live on April 5th. Sacred Art Live is an event that draws artists from across our area and from across the country. It's a showcase, especially of Catholic artists. And this year, the event will be held at Cathedral High School in Houston, again, April 5th. Join us on the program to talk more about Sacred Art Live is Al Sauls. Al is a Houston native, graduate of the University of St. Thomas, and a lover of iconography. Al is also one of the founding members of Sacred Art Live. Al, welcome into the studio. Thanks for being here.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much.
I'm excited that you also brought in some of your artwork to display. We have Jesus and Mary here. Yes. I'm going to ask you all about them and about your love of the saints. Okay. But first, tell me a little bit about yourself, Al. Born and raised in Houston.
Yeah, born and raised in Houston. Actually, we're born and raised in the Third Ward area. And actually, I've loved art ever since I was a kid. So that's been my thing.
I think I read that you grew up in kind of a community of artists, so you were exposed to art from an early age.
We did, actually. I did grow up in a community of artists, and my mother actually is a poet. She actually does poetry, so it actually kind of grew me into understanding of the story and the liturgy and all the stuff that's very important. So.
And what kind of artwork did you like when you were very, very young?
I loved going to the museum, and really I just kind of fell in love with the classics because actually that was really what got me going. It was really beautiful. So I just loved looking at, Leonardo da Vinci, anything like that was just really kind of, captivating to me.
Very good. So like I say, you were exposed at a young age to art. Always had an appreciation for it.
Yes.
And then I mentioned that you had gone to the University of St. Thomas for college, and then that's really when you kind of reconnected with your Catholic roots.
Right.
And then that in turn led to your work in depicting more Catholic figures like the saints. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, actually, it kind of was like a wonderful thing because I went to St. Thomas and I got a chance to kind of reconnect with different people that I actually knew a long time ago that was into the Catholic, Catholic arts, and it just kind of helped me kind of grow what I was doing because actually at the time I actually wasn't doing it too much when I was 16, 17, 18, but when I got back to school, it just became so much more immersed with everything because it's so much. It's just a beautiful Catholic community there at the University of St. Thomas.
And so, how did you begin to work on things like icons or images of the saints? Did you begin with drawings and then eventually get more sophisticated?
Actually, yeah. Well, I started with studies. Studies is actually where you really start like a small study, and I just kind of grew from there. Larger. They got larger and larger as time went by, but I actually started with a small study, and that's really what I started.
Okay. And so what do you think it is about icons in particular that appealed to you?
It's the process. I mean, it's a huge process. It's not just painting a picture and you're just kind of done with it. No, it actually has a lot to do with prayer, has a lot to do with everything that you got to get everything right. So these pictures have been around for centuries, and getting these techniques and these different kind of writing and right is just important. So I've learned a lot. I learned a different language. I've learned a lot of different things from it. So it's been pretty fun.
So what language are you talking about, like the Greek language?
Right, actually, yeah. So I got a chance to kind of study some of the Greek lettering and stuff, so it's really hard to kind of get that right. So I wanted to kind of study that and get it right.
So I had mentioned that you're an iconographer. Tell me how is that connected to, I've read about Byzantine art and Catholic art. Tell me a little bit about the difference between the two and how you kind of depict those.
Well, actually, when it comes to mostly the Byzantine artwork, I look at some of the pictures and stuff that they actually I kind of copy some of the pictures that they have from the Byzantine artwork time period. It's kind of an important period because it's considered the Dark Ages, but it's really not. It had a lot to do with a lot of different things, a lot of stuff that we're doing now. When it comes to some of the coloring and also the painting, it actually has a lot to do with that too. So I studied most of the coloring and painting from the Byzantine time period. And when it comes to some of the medieval works, it's kind of closer to when you were getting into the Renaissance area. So the Renaissance era is kind of a little bit closer, to that medieval kind of time period where they're actually looking at doing something that's very detailed, and some of the other pieces that you see here and some of the earlier ones are not as detailed, but they actually have a little bit more strength.
Yeah, you had brought in a couple images here that we have on the desk. We have an image of Mary and Jesus. Kind of walk me through and describe these, Al.
Oh, sure, sure. Okay, great. Well, right here, as you can see, some of this painting here that actually I did here for the gold leafing. I love doing gold leafing because it's actually one of the more important pieces here, and this is kind of the representation of heaven. So if you ever see any kind of gold leafing or even silver leafing, as you can see in this one here, it actually has a lot of connotations with the representation of heaven. When you look at some of also the linear features of some of the faces here, you can see that the face here actually has a very long, elongated nose and also has a very small mouth. The small mouth is actually for there because you're actually supposed to be, paying attention and understanding. The eyes are actually like understanding also because they basically are trying to, grasp you. So it's not just you're painting it; you're actually trying to make a connection between you and the viewer. So
yeah, that's interesting. I noticed that in a lot of these icons that the saints or important religious figures have really long noses.
Yes.
What's the meaning? Why do they have such a long nose?
Well, for me, actually, I just kind of think it was actually a stylistic tribute, but it also has to do with something similar to what the mouth is, where it's very small because they don't speak. And basically, the ears actually are much larger because they're supposed to hear. So that's kind of the mentality. The nose actually just kind of more of part of the stylistic version of the work. So, from what I understand.
Yeah. Well, that's incredible to think about how much work that you put into creating these. Like I said, looking at all these icons from many years past and then trying to imitate that. How many years did you have to kind of practice this? I guess it just take decades.
5 years, actually, yes.
Okay, 5 years.
About 5 years, you work on kind of getting everything structurally perfect. And once you can do that, then you can kind of like make it your own. So in some of these cases, I've kind of made these my own. And I've kind of decided to design something that's a little bit more different and also using different kinds of gold leaf and different kinds of steel and actually just making it my own. That was kind of the most major thing when you get to a certain level.
Sure, very good. I want to. I know some of these and several other pieces, for example, will be on display coming up at Sacred Art Live. Again, that's the art show that allows the public really to look at the artwork, purchase prints, learn a little bit more about what you like to create.
Right.
Tell me, Al, about when Sacred Art Live was formed and how did this event kind of come to fruition?
Well, actually, we were formed in 2022, and that was when the first show actually happened, which is really awesome. We had a chance to bring in about a few artists, which is Bill Stidham. We also had Kate Capato, Paul Latino, and it was myself. So we all got together and we said, okay, we're going to make something beautiful in Houston because there really, at the time, there was nothing there. So we wanted to actually do something that was actually, comprehensive and where we brought everybody together in one spot and you'll be able to see something, of beauty.
Very good.
Yeah.
And I guess from there, it's kind of grown because you've had more artists come on board, like say a lot of them from Houston, but then also from other places across the country as well.
Yes, and we're excited actually for this year. We have a few other artists that are coming actually from Mexico and also from Peru. So it's pretty rough.
Oh, wow.
We're excited.
That's incredible. If you are just now joining us, this is Wyatt Goolsby for AM 1430, talking with Al Sauls, a Houston artist. We've been talking all about Sacred Art Live, which is the Catholic art show that's coming up at Cathedral High School in Houston on April 5th. You can purchase tickets at Cathedral High School's website and learn more. Al, how has creating images of the saints helped you personally grow in your faith?
Well, what happens is actually everything you're doing when it comes to icons is liturgical. So you have to learn and actually understand Scripture in order to get it perfect and right. So when you're doing a piece, you're learning about the saint. You're also gaining knowledge of the saint, and you're putting yourself in their shoes and understanding. Okay, this feature has to be a part of this particular icon. So you have to put yourself into those shoes. Like if I was doing a picture of any of the saints, like Saint Augustine, I want to go ahead and read their story because it actually gives you a good understanding exactly what they've been through, and also you can put that emotion within the icon. So.
That makes sense because, again, those stories are kind of worked into the image in sometimes in very subtle ways.
Right.
So if you don't know the story, if you don't know a biblical reference, for example, it may be lost on you.
Exactly.
In addition to that, you had said that you kind of studied some Greek, so I noticed in some of the images that you brought in, you have, the Greek letters as well.
Right.
how much do you have to really work on that to understand the significance of the Greek lettering?
Actually, it's very intensive, and that's the wonderful thing about it. I've had a lot of great teachers over the period of time, and I got a chance to learn, kind of more of Greek from when I was in school. So actually, I got a chance to actually work with people that actually knew about some of the icons, and I got a chance to visit a lot of different museums and stuff to see some of the beautiful icons that they had.
Well, I give you credit because that does seem like that would be tough to try to figure it out because, of course, the Greek language is very different than the English language, for example. Again, you've depicted all kinds of saints. Any favorite ones and ones that you personally, Al, have any kind of special devotion to?
Oh, St. Augustine, 100% St. Augustine. I believe his story was just so beautiful, and it kind of reminded me of my own. I had a rebellion period where actually I was kind of rebelling against my mother, but my mother always prayed for me. So it was kind of one of the things that kind of brought everything together. So St. Monica and St. Augustine really have a great story. So I just think it's beautiful.
And where did you and your mother go to church growing up?
Actually, we actually had a few places. My mother actually went to church with St. Monica, which is really crazy. So, so it kind of worked out really well, So we've seen these icons and seen different things and stuff, together and stuff. So, but we're actually kind of working on. I'm working on a huge piece of St. Monica, which I'm really proud of right now. So we're going to do something for them, and I'm going to probably gift it to the St. Monica Church. So.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. That's great. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that when it comes to fruition. I'm sure, Al, you can send me a photo or something.
Definitely.
We can post that on our social media when that's finished. But
Wonderful.
That's great. I know, Al, you've met all different kinds of people when you attend events like the Sacred Art Live or other art shows and things like that, like at Cathedral High School. In all the places that you've been, this is a fun question. What's the best compliment you've ever received? Oh,
actually, it was from a child. She was 5 years old. It was the greatest thing I ever heard. She said she wanted to be an artist like myself. And I was just like, okay, that's it. This is the total reason, for doing this and keeping it going and everything. Because during her generation, I want her to actually grow up with this kind of artwork and be able to express and be happy with what we're doing. So I want this to be something that she can see in her lifetime, too.
I love that because, kids, they're going to tell you the truth, right?
Yes.
They're going to tell you it's going to come straight out of their mouth.
Exactly.
They're not lying to you. So if she says, that's amazing, or I want to be like that.
Yes.
That's got to be pretty special.
Yes, I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy that. I thought it was beautiful. So.
Well, again, I know we have lots of people here in the Houston area who have seen you and other artists at events like at Cathedral High School where you have your art on display. But for those who haven't or have never been to an art show or sacred art show, why would you encourage the public to buy tickets and to attend something like this?
Well, the artists are actually going to be there, and that gives you a chance to see them and talk to them and actually be able to relate and see the artwork. You're able to ask questions, and there's no place or any kind of show that I've actually been to where you're actually open to seeing the artists and actually talking to them for a while and understanding the artwork that's been created. So I think that's just a beautiful transition, and it actually helps you understand why the artist made the piece. So it gives you a really good context. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Not often are you able to actually just talk to the artists about the work that went into it. That's fantastic. One last question, Al, before we go. You had mentioned that you kind of had a rebellion period in your life where you didn't go to church or didn't acknowledge it. For those people who may have not been to church in a while and maybe listening to this program and still find an attraction to the church, maybe to the saints, to icons like this, what would you say to encourage them to maybe return to church, to learn more about the Catholic faith? Like I said, you went to the University of St. Thomas, so you ended up studying the faith. What would you encourage those people to come back to church and to learn more about their Catholic Church?
The most important thing, I think, is relation to what the saints went through. And I think that actually is a great way to get back and a great avenue to get back into understanding, this is the importance of why we're doing what we're doing. Because saints actually went through a lot of different things, and we all go through things right now. But if you get back in touch with these saints, I mean, it just helps you understand their struggle, and it helps you through your own struggle. So it's pretty good.
Amen. I'm glad we have the saints because they're real people who have gone through things, and we can look to them as an example.
Exactly.
Very good. Al Sauls, Houston native, graduate of the University of St. Thomas, artist and iconographer. Thanks for being here. We really appreciate it.
This has been awesome. Thank you so much.
And, of course, we'll see you at Sacred Art Live at Cathedral High School. Again, that's on April the 5th.
Thank you.